Brilliant. Well, thanks for coming along. What we're trying to do at these lunchtimes is just trying to answer some of the key objections people might have to Christianity, some of the big problems they would have with what Christians say. The big thing we're thinking about today is, well, what about other religions? How can you say Christianity is true when there are so many other religions out there? I don't know if you've seen the film Stolen Summer. I don't think it's widely known, but it did win a prestigious kind of scriptwriters award. And it tells a story about two young boys, Danny and Pete. They're about 11 years old. Danny is Jewish and Pete is a Catholic. And sadly, as the film goes on, Danny is diagnosed with terminal cancer. He's given weeks, months to live. And Pete, the Catholic boy, during the summer, makes it his ambition, his mission, to try and convert Danny from Judaism to Christianity. They're young, and you watch the film over this summer as the conversations go on, and it's quite funny. They have some very odd and funny conversations, but it's also a little bit awkward. A little bit sense that it's not right what Pete's trying to do in converting Danny to Catholicism, to Christianity. By the end of the summer, sadly, Danny dies. And it's at that point that the message of the film comes across. During the funeral, just after the funeral, Pete goes over to Danny's father and he apologizes. He says, "I'm really sorry that I tried to convert Danny to Christianity. He doesn't need to believe in Christianity. Danny is in heaven anyway." And at that point you think, yeah, that's right. That's the kind of society I want to be part of. That's the kind of society I want to live in. A society which says it doesn't matter which religion you believe, that they're all true, they're all equally valid. They're all equally valid ways to God, ways to heaven. That's the kind of society I want to believe in and be part of. In fact, actually, think about it a bit more strongly. Surely it's wrong for one religion to make an absolute claim that they only have the truth about God and other religions don't. It's wrong because it's just arrogant, isn't it? It's arrogant to say that your religion has the truth and others don't. I mean, think about it. There are probably hundreds of religions out there, maybe less kind of mainstream religions. And of those religions, there are maybe 2 billion Christians, let's say. 2 billion people saying Jesus is God. But then that means there are 5 billion other people who disagree with that. Surely it's arrogant. It's naive. It's intolerant for the Christian to say, we're right, and you 5 billion people are wrong. It's arrogant to say that. Better to think about it a bit like this. Maybe you've heard of this illustration before. Several blind men are walking along and they bump into an elephant. It's a tame elephant, which means they're blind, they can't see, but they're allowed to kind of prod it and poke it and try and work out what's in front of them. One of the men grabs hold of the trunk and says, "This creature is long and flexible, like a snake." Another of the blind men grabs hold of one of the elephant's legs and says, "No, it's thick and round, like a tree trunk." And the third blind man feels the elephant's side and says, "No, it's flat and large." And the point is, in a sense, they're all right, aren't they? They're all saying true things about the elephant. Each man could only feel part of the elephant. They only had part of the truth. But they're all true. So it is with religion. A Christian sees part of the truth about God. A Muslim sees another part. A Hindu sees part of the truth about God. They're all right. They're all talking about the same God, the same ultimate reality. See, no one religion has the whole truth. You see, it's better, if you like, to be a kind of a relativist when it comes to religion, not an absolutist, a kind of a religious relativist. All religions have the truth. It's arrogant to say otherwise. But not only are kind of absolute claims about religion arrogant, they're dangerous as well, aren't they? Karl Popper, a philosopher in the 20th century, he puts it like this: it's a short step from the confidence which says, "I'm sure," to the tyranny which says, "Therefore I must be obeyed." Do you see his point? As soon as someone says they're sure that they have the truth and others are wrong, then it doesn't take long for them to feel superior to those who are wrong, they consider to be wrong. It doesn't take long for them to marginalise those they consider to be wrong. It's a short step from certainty to tyranny. That's even more so with religion, isn't it? The absolute claim at the heart of religion is that my religion has the truth about God and yours doesn't. That's an incredibly emotive claim to make. John Hick, a British philosopher of religion, captures the problem well. He writes this: "We live as part of a worldwide human community that is at war with itself. In many places, men, women, and even children are killing and being killed in conflicts that are both validated and emotionally intensified by religion. And this is possible because each faith has traditionally made its own absolute claim to be the one and only true faith." So if you hold an absolute belief, being sure and confident that you're right about God and others are wrong, well, then at some point you'll feel superior to those who are wrong, you consider to be wrong. You'll find ways to dismiss them, to marginalise them. And we see that playing out there on a global scale, kind of armed conflict, religion versus religion. And we see it on a smaller scale, in our own communities, in our own relationships. People thinking they are superior to others because they think they've got the truth. See, absolute claims about God and religion are not only arrogant, they're dangerous. Surely the best thing to do is to stop making those absolute claims, to stop saying, my religion is the only true religion. Surely it's better to be a relativist when it comes to religion, and not an absolutist. Religious relativism is surely a better way. I remember when I was growing up, one of my good friends at school and college was a practicing Muslim. And I, at the time, and still am, was a Christian. And we got on really well. But there are times when religion would come up into our kind of conversations, and we'd talk about it, and very often it'd get a bit heated. And one day she said to me, look, I've been thinking, I've had enough of all this discussion about religion. Essentially, we believe the same thing. You call God Jesus, I call God Allah, we're both right. Let's just stop talking about it. And partly because I thought she was making sense, and partly because I quite liked her, that I just went with it. I said, yeah, okay. And there were no more heated discussions. The tension eased away. And it seemed to be good. So if we want peace, if we want communities that get along, then surely religion and Christians need to stop saying that their faith is the one true faith, the only way to know God. It's better to be a relativist when it comes to religion than an absolutist. Better to say that all religions are true rather than to say that just one religion is true. Surely it's better to be a religious relativist. But actually, I'm not sure religious relativism really works. See, I think there's a couple of serious problems with it. Let me just try and take you through a few of them. First of all, there's actually an arrogance to religious relativism. Now that might sound a bit odd. Surely religious relativism is humble. It says everyone is true. But think again for a moment. I mean, go back to that illustration we were thinking about earlier on about the elephant and the blind men. If you use that illustration, where does the religious relativist stand in relation to the three blind men, if they're going to use that illustration? See, they can't be one of the three blind men, otherwise they wouldn't know what was going on. They wouldn't know there was an elephant there in the first place. Now, in order to tell the illustration, the religious relativist needs to be watching with perfect vision. They must be able to see the whole elephant, the whole truth. They must be in a superior position to the others. For the religious relative to be able to say, all religions are equally valid, all religions see part of the truth, they must be able to see the whole truth. One writer put it like this: how could you possibly know that no religion can see the whole truth unless you yourself have the superior, comprehensive knowledge of spiritual reality you just claimed that none of the religions have. When my Muslim friend said to me, hey, look, we believe the same God. You call him Jesus, I call him Allah. He's the same God. It sounded so humble. But she can only say that if she is standing in a superior position so that she can see the whole of God, to know that we're talking about the same God. See, there's an arrogance to religious relativism. But not only that, there's an incoherence to religious relativism. We can think about it. All the religions of the world say contradictory things about God. But the religious relativist says they're all true. That means there is both one God, as the Christians and Muslims and Jews would say, and 250 million gods, as the Hindu would say, and no personal God, as the Buddhist would say. Or it means Jesus is God who died on a cross and rose again, as the Christians would say, and Jesus is not God who didn't die on a cross and didn't rise again, as the Muslims would say. See, religious relativism is ultimately incoherent. It doesn't make sense. So there's an arrogance, there's an incoherence to religious relativism, and finally there's an exclusiveness to it. Again, that sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? Relativism is deliberately inclusive, isn't it? Surely it's saying everyone has the truth. Think again. That the relativist says no religion can make an exclusive claim about God. But that in itself is an exclusive claim about God. Relativism is exclusive. It excludes those who think they do have the whole truth or have the truth about God. It says Christians who say that Jesus is the only way to God, well, they are wrong in saying that. Their views should be excluded from the debate. So there's a problem with religious relativism. There's an arrogance to it, there's an incoherence to it, and it's as exclusive as any other view. I guess the point is this, really, that it's not as simple as saying exclusive claims versus inclusive claims, or absolute claims versus relativist claims. Because absolute claims, exclusive claims are just unavoidable. It doesn't matter who we are, religious or not, relativist or not, we all have absolute beliefs about life and ultimate reality. But we all make absolute claims and exclusive claims about what's right and about what's wrong. We all have our boundaries. Absolute claims, exclusive claims are unavoidable. So much the key question that we need to answer is, which exclusive claim, absolute claim, am I going to hold to? Which one am I going to choose? And I reckon for most of us, there are two things that we want. We want the absolute claim to be true, something that's verifiable, something that's based on evidence, something that we can know is true. But we also want to hold to an absolute claim that doesn't lead to arrogance and conflict, but that leads to peace and humility. So as we close, I want to suggest, and this is going to sound crazy, I think, but I want to suggest that Christianity is an absolute claim that is true, and that if believed and accepted, doesn't lead to arrogance and conflict, but to humility and peace. I know that does sound ridiculous, so please bear with me for the last few moments as I try and justify that.